All right, so the one we had trouble with was either 34, what is it? What's the assignment? 37 or 49, you pick one, I'll do it. 49, because that 49 is bigger. 49. So we have f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. And if you weren't with us on Monday, then you should write this down, yeah, because then it'll save you some time. So look at all the stuff you gotta do. Find the vertex, axis of symmetry, y-intercept, x-intercepts, determine the domain and range, and determine whether the function is increasing or decreasing. Oh, and then you have to graph it too. Now the most important point on a parabola is what? The vertex. And what's the fastest way to find the vertex? Remember, there's two ways, right? One is to complete the square, but that takes a long time. The other is negative b over 2a. The x-coordinate of the vertex, how should I write that? Is always going to be negative b over 2a. Okay, so in this problem, what is negative b over 2a? Negative b over 2a. So that's negative 6 over 6, which is negative 1. So the vertex is negative 1, and how do I figure out what the y-coordinate is? You plug it back in. So if I plug it back in, you're going to get 3 minus 6 plus 2. So that's 5 minus 6, negative 1. Did I do that correctly? Yes, because I'm the teacher. Okay, so the vertex is at negative 1, negative 1. Right there. Does this parabola open up or down? It opens up because the leading coefficient is positive. Now, is it enough to just do this? Swing! No, you have to be more accurate than that. So you have to plot another point. And what's always a nice point to plot? The y-intercept. And how do you figure out the y-intercept? You look at that number right there. That number is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 2. And since we have symmetry, if I go 1 to the right and I'm up there, if I go 1 to the left, I should be up there as well, right? So here is your parabola. Like that. It's kind of ugly, but good enough. Okay, now let's answer all the questions. What are the questions? Graph it. Whether it opens up or down. Duh, it's opening up. Right? Just look at it. Find the vertex. Well, duh, we found it right here. Axis of symmetry. Here is the axis of symmetry right here. What is the equation of that line? X equals, since it's a vertical line, negative 1, right? Because, here, why don't we put the vertex? Let's put everything on there. What else do we have to find? X-intercepts and y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is dumb, right? That's 2, we already did that. Now, how do I find these x-intercepts? I showed you last time. Yeah, you set y equal to 0. So here's y, this is like y, right? You set that equal to 0, and you solve that equation. So let's take this equation. 0 equals 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. Now, how do you solve an equation like this? You try and factor it. Is that factorable, or do I have to use the quadratic formula? Most of you did it. What? You got to use the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root. Can we do this in our head? I don't know. B squared minus 4ac. What's 4 times 3 times 2? It rhymes with 24. 24. 36 minus 24 is 12. Okay, so you don't have to do it in your head. Just make sure you get the number right. All over 2a, 6. Okay, now, can I simplify square root of 12? Yeah. Yes, because 12 is 4 times 3, right? And the square root of 4 is 2. So that would be 2 root 3 all over 6. And then how do I simplify that? Can I just cancel the 6's like that? Don't be ridiculous. You just lost 4 points if you did that. So what you can do is divide the top and the bottom by 2. So negative 3 plus or minus root 3 all over 2. You can divide top and the bottom by the same number. So what is this x-intercept over there? That's going to be negative 3 plus root 3 over 2, comma 0. And what is that? X-intercept right there. Negative 3 minus root 3 over 2 comma 0. Okay, then it says find the domain and range. Now what is the domain? A domain is a listing of all the x coordinates on a graph, okay? So, if I were to list, see, a graph is made up of an infinite number of points. If you list all the x coordinates, what would they be? Since this graph just goes all the way to the left and all the way to the right. Just keeps on going, what? All real numbers. Now, how do you write all real numbers? You can put the capital R, or you can put this, all real numbers. Or you can put from negative infinity to infinity. I don't care which one it is, they all mean the same thing. Now, the range is a listing of all the y coordinates on the graph. Okay, so here's the vertex. What is the y coordinate of that vertex right there? Negative 1. And then that's the smallest y coordinate, right? And then you got everything above that, right? Because the graph is going up. So what would the range be? From negative 1 to infinity. And does it include negative 1? Does it include this point? Yes, so that's why you put the brackets right there. Okay. Or if you rather write it like this, you can write it like this. Y such that y is greater than or equal to negative 1. Which way do you like better? A or B? It doesn't matter to me because they both mean exactly the same thing. Okay, and then it says you have to tell where the function is increasing and decreasing. So, increasing and decreasing. Okay, increasing means the graph is going uphill. Now look at this graph. Where is this graph going uphill? Well, from the vertex and then to the right, right? See how it's going uphill? So how would you write this? From negative 1 to infinity, because we're talking about at what x coordinates is the graph going uphill. And then what about decreasing? That means where is the graph coming downhill? Well, from here until you reach the vertex, right? So what would that be? Negative infinity to negative 1. Okay, I'll tell you right now, this is one of the questions on Friday's quiz. The only thing that's going to be different, maybe I'll change that number to a 5. Can you guys do it? Just repeat it with a different number? Can, huh? Yeah, it's not that hard. Okay, so was that the only question? But see how much work you got to do just for that one problem. So there's probably, my guess is there's probably only going to be like 3 or 4 problems on the quiz. This is one of them right there. All right. Now tonight we are going to continue with the parabola. Okay, so we're going to learn more stuff on the parabola. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do examples from the book. Maybe that would be easier. We're going to try that. So what I did before class, I took some pictures of the problems. So here, I'll put it up on here. Where did I put it? It's on my email. Stop looking at my email. Hey, fresh connection cart closed today. Okay, so look at number 58. Let's see if this works. Okay. Did everybody bring their book this time? Remember, you gotta have your book all the time. In fact, one of tonight's homework problems, I think you have to use your calculator too, because it's like decimal. Everybody has a calculator? Who has a graphing calculator? Nobody has graphing? Well, it doesn't matter, because one of the problems, they give you like decimals. So, I mean, if you want to take the challenge and do it without a calculator, go ahead. Okay, so here's the problem from the book. So I assigned odd problems, right? So this is an even problem, but it's going to be like the same thing. Okay, so like I told you, I'm not trying to trick you or anything. I'm just going to teach you math, and you just got to be able to do it. Okay, you just got to practice a couple times and you're fine. So what you have to do in this problem is they give you a graph of a parabola, right, like that. Huh? Graph of a parabola. You have to write the equation. Now, if you know the vertex of the parabola, then what you should do is you should use the vertex form of the parabola, which is what? Remember the vertex form? I showed you this on Monday, right? This is called vertex form. You know why? Because the vertex is at the point HK. So if you know the vertex of the parabola, to write the equation of it, that's the fastest way to do it. So if you look at this thing, this, by the way, this is number 58, for those of you watching on video in the book. Okay, now look at that picture. What are the coordinates of the vertex? Okay, let me look at it. -2, 6. See, I know the vertex. So all you have to do is put this in for h and put that in for k. So therefore, the equation of the parabola is y equals, just follow the form, a x minus -2, which is the same thing as x plus 2 squared, plus 6. That's the equation of the parabola, except, Mr. Park, I don't know what this a is. Well, you can see from the picture that the parabola is opening down, so that first number got to be negative. So can you make up any number you want? -1, -2, -3, -1/2. No, you have to give the exact number. So how do I figure out what that number is? We know it's going to be negative, but what is it now? How do I figure out exactly what that number is? Okay, let me tell you. You plug in a point that you know lies on the graph. Now look at the problem. Do they give you a point that lies on the graph that is not the vertex? Yeah, right there. -4, -2. What do you think I'm going to do with this point? Yeah, you plug it in. So if I plug in -4 for x, here, yeah, and -2 for y, you should be able to figure out what a is. Okay, let's do that. -2 equals a times -4 plus 2 squared plus 6. See how a is the only variable you have? And you can solve it. So let's just crunch the math now. -2 equals a times, what's -4 plus 2? Quick! -2 squared. 4 plus 6. Subtract 6 from both sides, so you get 4a equals -8. Divide by 4, a equals, come on, you cannot divide by 4, go to your room. -2. So therefore, the equation of this parabola is y equals -2. X plus 2 squared plus 6. Box that, that's the answer. So again, if you are given the vertex, you use the vertex form, and then all you have to do is plug in a point that you know on the graph, plug it in for x and y. That's how you figure out what this a is. See, and you know how you can kind of check your answer to make sure you're right? Remember we said since the parabola is opening down, this number should be negative, right? And it is. And then it's kind of thinner, so that's why it's got to be, you know, like 2 or 3 or something like that. See, because if you do the work and that number came out positive, then you know you cannot be right because the thing is opening down. All right, let's look at the next one. Next example. What am I doing? What? Where's the x? Oh. Okay, there. 64 and 68. This is right out of your book. Okay, now in problem 64, they give you a quadratic function. Let me write this down. -2x squared plus 8x plus 3. Oh, I forgot the alphabet. Okay, now what are the directions? It says determine whether this quadratic function has a maximum or a minimum. Well, if I were to graph this parabola, does it open up or does it open down? Down, because the leading coefficient is negative, right? So we know this parabola opens down, so therefore that point right there, is that point a maximum point or a minimum point? It's a maximum, right? Because that's the highest point on the graph. If the parabola opened upward, then it would have a minimum point, because that's the lowest point on the graph. Okay, so does this function have a maximum or minimum? Maximum. You don't even have to draw it, right? If that's negative, you know it opens down, it's a maximum. And then it says, find this maximum value. Now notice that this point is the vertex of the parabola. Do we know how to find the vertex? Yeah, what's the fastest way from last night's homework? -b over 2a. So, -b over 2a. That is negative 8 over negative 4, which simplifies to, rhymes with move. 2. So is the answer 2? Because it says find the maximum value. No, when they ask you to find the maximum value, they actually mean the y-coordinate, because the y-coordinate is the function value. Okay? So when they say, what is the maximum value, you don't say 2, you give the y-coordinate. So if you know the x-coordinate, how do you find the y-coordinate? You plug it in. So if I plug in 2 for x, f of 2 is equal to, let's see if we can do this in our head, 2 squared times negative 2. Negative 8 plus, plug in 2 there, 16 plus 3, and that comes out to? It rhymes with 11. 11. So the answer is 11. Now, if you get confused on a quiz or test, like I'm going to ask you, find this maximum value. What if you just said 2? I would have to take off 2 or 3 points, because value means the y-coordinate. But if you get confused, just give me both the x and the y coordinate and I'll give you full credit. Even though the answer should just be 11. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so that was easy. Okay, now number 68. Since we're videoing, we gotta stay on this side of the board. 68, what does it say? The graph of this quadratic function, x squared plus bx plus c, has vertex as 1, 4. This is the vertex. And it passes through the point negative 1, negative 8. Find A, B, and C. So we already did a problem like this. If you know the vertex of the parabola, what form should I use to write the equation? Yeah, the vertex form, right? That's this one. Y equals A, x minus h squared plus k. Vertex form. So since we know the vertex, plug in 1 for h and 4 for k. So this is what you get. Y equals A, x minus 1 squared plus 4. Anytime you know the vertex, you don't even think, you just use vertex form. And then, how do I figure out this value of A, Mr. Park? Well, I told you 5 minutes ago, what do? You plug in a point that you know lies on the parabola. And do they give you a point? Yeah, the only difference between this problem and the one I did before is the other one had a picture. This one just doesn't have a picture, but you do the same thing. Here is the point. Plug in negative 1 for x and negative 8 for y, like that. So negative 8 equals A times, let's see if we can do this in our head. What is negative 1 minus 1? I guess we can't. Negative 2 squared. 4. See, you can. Subtract 4. Negative 12 equals 4a. Divide by 4. A equal negative 3. So therefore, the equation of this parabola is y equals negative 3 x minus 1 squared plus 4. Mr. Park, this is exactly the same as the other problem except without the picture. Yeah. So box that, that's the answer. Box that, that's the answer. No, see, you guys are ready. What does it say? Look at the problem. It says find A, B, and C. It doesn't say write the equation and you're done. It says find A, B, and C. So if you did that, you did everything correctly except you didn't answer the question. You didn't find A, B, and C, so that's like a minus 4. So how do I change it from this into this form so I can figure out A, B, and C? Yeah, you multiply it out and you distribute the negative 3. So what you got to do is multiply it out. That's what you got to do. So negative 3, and do we know how to go x minus 1 squared? Can we all go x squared minus 2x plus 1? Can? Or do we have to go on the side and go x minus 1 times x minus 1 and then use FOIL? I don't care. I don't care. You can do either way. It doesn't matter to me, but you better get there. X squared minus 2x plus 1 plus 4. Now, distributize the negative 3, so what is that? Negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 3 plus 4 And then all you have to do now is add up those two thingies there. So you get y is equal to negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 1. Now we can answer the question. What is A? Negative 3. What is B? 6. And what is C? Yeah, so this is exactly the same as the problem I showed you before, but except you just got to do a few extra steps, right? Multiply it all up. So I can tell already some of you have problems with reading directions. That could be it. So you could do almost everything correct on a test or quiz, but then because you didn't read the directions, you could get blown out of the water. So make sure you read the directions. Okay, that's simple. Hey, tonight's homework is easy, Mr. Park. Yeah. Okay, and then we got 2 more examples to do, and then I'll give you the rest of the time. Oh no, we got word problems. There's a bunch of word problems we're going to do tonight. But that's nothing compared to tomorrow's lessons, because tomorrow's lesson is all word problems. So basically, you're just going to do this within the word problem. All right, so look at the word problem, 82. See, I think I assigned 81 or something, so it's like very similar. So, okay, are you guys reading, following along? I'll read it for the people on the video. The John Deere company has found that the revenue in dollars from sales of heavy-duty tractors is a function of the unit price P in dollars that it charges. If the revenue is, and they give you a revenue function. So if you're going to major in business, this is exactly the kind of problems you're going to get. R of P is equal to negative 1/2 P squared plus 1900 P. Now, does everybody understand what revenue is? What is revenue? I didn't take business yet, Mr. Park. Come on. Revenue is how much money you bring in. And if you want to be a good business person, don't you want to maximize your revenue? Or do you want to minimize it and then go out of business? No, you want to maximize revenue. You want to bring in as much money as possible. So the question is asking, at what unit price P should you charge to maximize your revenue? So P is the price that you're charging for something that you're selling. I don't know, what are you selling? Pokemon cards? Okay, you're selling, P is the price of a deck of Pokemon cards, okay? This is a function that tells you what your revenue is based on how many packs of Pokemon cards that you sell. Now, if I were to graph this, see, you're used to seeing y and x, right? But the only difference is instead of y and x, you got r and p now, but it's the same thing. If I were to graph this, instead of the x and the y axis, you would have the p and the r axis. That's the only difference. Now, if I were to graph this, what is the graph going to be? What are we studying this chapter? It rhymes with parabolas. Parabolas. And which way does this parabola open? It opens down because the leading coefficient is negative. Okay, so here, I'm just going to erase this thing. So it's opening down. So isn't there a place where you have a maximum revenue? So that's what you want to figure out, the vertex. The vertex is the most important point on the parabola. So how do we find the vertex of a parabola again? This is last night's homework. What's the fastest way? Complete the square or negative b over 2a? Yeah, negative b over 2a, either way, but negative b over 2a is just a lot faster. So negative b over 2a is what? This is a, this is b, and c is 0, yeah? Because there's nothing there. So negative b all over 2a. That comes out to negative 1900 over negative 1, which is just 1900. So we know the x-coordinate of the vertex, or the p-coordinate of the vertex is 1900. How do I figure out the y-coordinate? You plug it back in. Mr. Park! That's a big number and I gotta square it? Are you crazy? Okay, let's just try it. 1/2 or negative half times 1900 squared plus 1900 times 1900. This is the y-coordinate. Do I need a calculator for that? Or can I do that? Because some of you are going to go, okay, okay, I don't know, how good is your guys' arithmetic? Okay, let me give you a test. What is 19 squared? Okay, you failed the test. We don't know our square. When I went to elementary school, our teachers made sure every student, when you finished 6th grade, you know your square numbers up to 25. Like, they could tell you 25 squared and you know 625. So like 19 squared. Okay, what about 20 squared? Okay, then you know 20, that's bigger than 19. 12 squared? 144. 17 squared? 289. 23 squared? Oh boy. Okay, so obviously did you guys graduate from 6th grade? How come my elementary school, everybody knew it? Okay, so you don't get to use a calculator in this problem. So what do? So do I go on the side and go 19 squared? I gotta go 1900 times 1900. Do you really want to do that? But can you see that? Look, when you basically, if you knew 19 squared was what? What is 19 squared? No, still nobody. 361. All you gotta do is add 4 zeros. Bam. But we don't know. So here, I'm gonna show you something. Okay. Instead of, and you gotta do it twice. Look, 19 squared there, and then you gotta go 19 squared again. I'm gonna show you something. Instead of multiplying it out twice, how about factor? Look at this thing. What can I factor out from both of these terms? 1900 squared. Right? What's going to be left? Negative half plus. You guys know how to factor, right? Okay, let's go back to Algebra 1A. If you have 2x plus 6, what can I factor out? 2. What's going to be left? X. How come now you can do it? Okay, so look. I see 19 squared here, I see 19 squared there. I factor it out, what's left? Negative half plus 1. So isn't that the same thing as 19 squared times a half? So all you gotta do is go 19 squared times a half. Okay, here's 19 squared. When you times it by a half, isn't that the same thing as dividing by 2? Okay, I think we can do this one in our head, right? You got 3,610,000. Divide that by 2. What do you get? I think we can do this.
1, 2, 5.
Do we? Okay. So we really, you really, okay, let me ask you this. What's 36 divided by 2? How come you can do that then? Do it, do it. Okay, we'll do it this way. 2 goes into 3 one time. How much remainder? 1. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 1, no can. So 2 goes into 10 5 times, and then the rest is all zeros, right? So what are you trying to tell me, Mr. Parker? I need a calculator. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Okay, there's the vertex right there. Okay, now once you find the vertex, you should be able to answer all the questions. Okay, what were the questions? What unit price should you charge to maximize your revenue? So you have the packs of Pokemon cards or whatever it is. How much should you charge for it so that you make as much money as possible? So what's the answer? How many decks of, what should I charge for a deck of Pokemon cards? Okay, what represents the price of a Pokemon card deck? Is it the P or the R? P, and R represents the revenue, how much money you're bringing in. So what should I charge for a pack of Pokemon cards? What's the answer? $1,900. You gotta answer the question. Okay, and then it says, what is this maximum revenue? How much money will I bring in? Yeah, right there. $1,805,000. It's pretty good money. Well, who's gonna buy a Pokemon deck for $1,900? Yeah, but it's made of gold. Okay, so you gotta make sure you answer the question. You're gonna have the exact same thing on the quiz, except, okay, so on the quiz, the only thing I do is what, change the 1/2 to a 1/3 or something? Is that gonna throw you off? Change the 1900 to 1800. Mr. Park, can you just change it to 19? That way the numbers would be smaller. Maybe. Okay, and then finally, one more problem. And then we're done. So let's see. Now it's another word problem, except it. There you go. The only difference is now you got decimals. So this one, you're gonna have to use your calculator. I'm gonna erase. See, if you guys took this down in your notes, then when you do tonight's homework, you just look at it, because I assigned, like, that's number 86, I assigned number 85, right? It's pretty much the same thing with different numbers. Okay, so this is 86. P of x is equal to this function. Man, I can't even see from this far. Point, gosh, my eyes are bad. 008. See, already you know. You want to use calculator for this, right? Plus 0.815x minus, see, this is real life right here. Because in real life, there's no way you can get just nice whole numbers, right? It's never going to work out like that. Okay, so this models the percentage of the US population whose age is X. So what does X represent? Age, and what does P represent? The percentage of the US population that have earned an advanced degree. Okay? So it says, at what age for which the highest percentage of Americans have earned an advanced degree, and what is this highest percentage? So again, basically they want you to find the vertex. Now, if you were to graph this parabola, does it open up or down? Yeah, it opens down because the leading coefficient is negative. It opens down. It's going to be kind of wide like this because that's like smaller than 1, yeah? So our goal is to find the vertex. So what's the fastest way? What? You want to complete the square with these ugly numbers? No, negative b over 2a. So okay, when you take this test, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, if you just knew one thing only on the test and you could like get a decent score, that would be negative b over 2a. That's what you got to know. Okay, what is negative b over 2a? Negative b all over 2a. Now, how many of you want to do that without a calculator? Not me. Okay, so you guys have your calculator? You guys are taking chemistry or something, physics or some kind of science, so everybody has a calculator, right? You know what? Instead of me pulling on my calculator, let's just do this. Bam! Anyway, if you're going to take pre-calculus or calculus at ELI, this is the calculator that we recommend. It's called the Casio Prism. So those of you who have graphing calculators, is this the one you have? Okay, maybe, okay, so if you're planning on taking pre-calculus or calculus, maybe Christmas birthday present, maybe ask for this. No way, I'm not asking for that. Okay, so whenever you want to compute things, you go to this mode right there, which is 1. There you go. So what do we need? Negative b over 2a. So can we just cancel out the negative signs? Negative over negative is positive. Okay, so we got 0.815 divided by, now, can we do 2 times 0.008 in our head, or do we make the calculator do it? 0.01. Oh, well, you guys think you're good now. Enter. 50.9375. 50.9375. Okay, that's the x coordinate of the vertex. 50.9375. How do I figure out the y coordinate? You gotta plug it in. Now, does anybody know how to store things on your calculator? No, okay, you know what? We're just gonna do this the old-fashioned way, because not everybody here has graphing calculators. So what you just gotta do is you gotta take this number and you gotta plug it in for x here and here. Oh boy. Okay, let's just make sure we get the same number. Are we ready? So, negative 0.008 times 50.9375 squared plus, where's the plus button? 0.815 times, hey, what happened? What happened to, oh, I want to hurt, oh, there it is, thank God it didn't disappear. Okay, so 0.8, hey, the thing's supposed to be there. I think a real calculator is much easier to use than, what's going on? Hurry up. Okay, 0.815, yeah, how come? Times, this is taking too long, 50.9375, correct? Minus 9.983. Execute! And what do you get? 10.774. 10.774. Now, usually in mathematics, in pre-calculus and calculus, everything is rounded to 3 places. But I'm just going to use them all. What comes after the 4? Somebody read that to me. 03125. 03125. There you go. Okay, here's the vertex. So we did exactly the same thing as we did before, except it's just more tedious to find the vertex, right? You have to use your calculator. Mr. Parker, I'd rather have problems without the calculator. Just don't make it ugly like this. Okay, now answer the question. Okay, what was the question? Minimize. The question was, what is the age for which the highest percentage of Americans have earned an advanced degree? Right there, 50.9. Right? Because remember, X represents the age and P represents the percent, right? So the answer to the first question, 50.938. I guess let's just practice for calculus and calculus. We're going to round to 3 decimal places. Okay, second part of the question. What is this highest percentage? 10.774%. So 10.774%. There you go. So the vertex tells you everything. And then finally, part B. Is the percentage of Americans who have earned an advanced degree increasing or decreasing for individuals between the age of 40 and 50? Now remember, okay, this is a parabola opening down. This is the vertex. See how 50.9375, that's your age? So if Americans are between 40 and 50 years of age, where would that be? Would that be over here or over here? Look, this is 50. So where would 40 to 50 be? Yeah, over here. So what? Is it increasing or decreasing there? Look at the graph. It's increasing. There you go. So make sure you answer all the questions. So any questions on any of this? So again, the key, the most important thing, find the vertex of the parabola, because that's the key. That's the most important point. Negative b over 2a. Okay, what time does this class end? This is scheduled at 9:10, so you guys have 13 minutes remaining. Maybe you can finish 2 or 3 problems. In fact, tonight's homework is only, I took off a problem. So if you copy down the assignment sheet from when I showed it to you on Monday, it's changed. This morning I took off a problem. So you have less problems to do. Alrighty then. Stop looking at my email. Alright, we got this on video now.